Hello, so this is episode 2 of my PdWebParty tutorial series. In the first one we just made the simplest little tone with a volume thing that could be played in a web browser. So all of these patches, by the way, will be on GitHub. Just check the link in this video description. Is that what it's called? That's what it's called. Okay, so let's open up my second one, which is this complex tone. I'll show it in the browser in the same way that I did before. Here it is, complex tone and volume and filter. So I've still got my volume there, but this time I have a pitch. And it sounds a lot more interesting. Okay, so that's using a very simple subtractive synthesis technique. And this is the patch itself before it goes into the PdWebParty. So here's how I made it. Very simple looking patch, as you can tell. In fact, I'll make it a little bit bigger for you. And, whoops. All right, well, now it's enormous. I don't know how I did that. Cool, good enough. Oh, I know. There we go. Okay, so I've got my pitch coming in here. So I'm setting, as before, every single one of these things is has both named send and received. So if I go into properties, I've named this one on-off complex and receive on-off complex. The only reason I've changed this name from my previous patch was because at one point I had both of them running open in PD, and send and receives are global to anything that is open in PD. So I was clicking on one and it was turning both of my synths on. So that was kind of annoying. So I changed this one to on-off complex and receive on-off complex. This is exactly the same as the previous patch, volume underscore complex and receive volume complex. Cool. So this one I've named pitch and receive pitch. Now the main difference here is that I've set my output range to the default of 0 to 127. That's what it defaults to when you make a slider, whereas my volume is going from 0 to 1. Okay, so this is going from 0 to 127, and my horizontal slider down here is also going from 0 to 127, and I've called that one filter frequency, and that's on my whole patch. Okay, so my pitch comes in here. I use a little conversion called M to F, which is MIDI to frequency. So I've got MIDI notes roughly between 0 and 127. It's a very wide range of MIDI notes, but that's fun. I'm converting that into a signal to clean it up in the same way that I did my volume previously. So anytime that number changes, it takes 20 milliseconds to get to the target number. So whatever this number comes in, whatever frequency that gets generated, it takes 20 milliseconds to get there. That goes into a phaser rather than an oscillator. So a phaser is a sawtooth wave, which has a lot more harmonics in it. And I have an on-off button going through line the same as I did in the previous patch. Then over here, I use my filter frequency, which I'm also converting using MIDI to frequency. That's because frequencies are complicated. Like it works best to use a logarithmic system, and M to F is just a really lazy logarithmic system to use. So it generates a frequency out of a set of MIDI notes in the same way I would with pitch. That goes through line, and that's going into this VCF tilde object. This is a filter, the voltage controlled filter it's called, and it's a low pass filter, which is a quite classic subtractive synthesis sound. I've set it to have just a hard-coded resonance of 1. You could change that. You could have another slider that controls the resonance, of course. And I've got my volume control here. And so that means I've got a synth with a filter on it. And I can control the pitch. Now, of course, normally in a sort of classic synth system, you would have this frequency slightly forward. You would have some ratio of the filter frequency following the pitch that you're playing. This doesn't have that, so right now as you get higher, if you have the filter set quite low, as you set the pitch up higher, it really just starts to lose the pitch. So you've got almost nothing. Normally this would go up a little bit in response to that, to like here maybe. But we don't have that. This is just a nice, super simple thing. You can adjust this however you want. It's a very limited number of objects, so it works well. That is this patch. Okay, cool. So next up, I'm going to show a little trick for loading sounds into PdWebParty, like sound files. So that's the next episode.